Welcome back. I am back 2 days in a row. I made good on my promise. Welcome to Ariadne's Quotes of Wisdom. We are back for episode 8, and here is today's quote. It takes strength to remember. It takes strength to forget. It takes a hero to do both. James Baldwin. So this one I think has a lot of different layers. Let's start with the first part. It takes strength to remember. So if we talk about taking strength to remember, and we can talk about a lot of different things, if we just go with the surface level, taking strength to remember memories, and they can be good, they can be bad. But if we're talking particularly about memories that are hard to remember, things that a lot of people might repress, things that some people might actually turn to substances to want to forget about. Those things, it really takes strength to remember those things. And the reason that we might want to remember them is because we need to feel it to heal it. We need to work through those types of memories, those types of trauma. A lot of times it's trauma situations, things that have happened to us in the past. In order to work through them, we need to go through those situations, work through them, heal them, in order to move on with our future and to actually get through them and have a better future for ourselves, and to move on in a more healed sense, and to have a better future for ourselves, and to treat ourselves and others in our lives in a more caring and compassionate manner. It also takes strength to forget. Sometimes we actually need to just put things past us. But the reason that it takes a hero to do both is that if you just forget things, if you're just repressing them, especially people who turn to substances or sometimes coping mechanisms like repression, like disassociation when you're in some kind of traumatic moment, if you turn to those kind of coping mechanisms to deal with any kind of traumatic situation that you're dealing with, if you're just forgetting about them, then you're going through life without actually healing those problems. And all they're going to do is they're going to keep coming up in your life in different manners. You might not even realize what they're doing to your life. You might not even realize that they're coming back. Something that happened to you in the past is triggering you in a future moment, in a present moment, and you might not even realize it because you've forgotten about it. You've completely put it in the back of your mind, in your subconscious, in your unconscious mind. And you're trying so hard to forget it that you don't even realize just how much it's affecting you, that you don't even realize that your current response is actually a victim of your past because you haven't dealt with it, because you have not actually tried to work through those feelings, let yourself feel those emotions, let yourself truly go deep into what you experienced in those moments, to let yourself figure out the solutions, to let yourself, truly dig deep and figure out, what was I feeling? How do I get past this? How do I, rectify the situation? How do I come to some kind of balance within my life? How do I find some kind of reconciliation about this? Sometimes it has to do with forgiveness, and forgiveness, so many people do not understand that forgiveness is not about forgiving the other person and telling them that what you did to me was okay. That is not what forgiveness is. Sometimes it is. If it is something that, somebody comes and says to you, I'm sorry, and you tell them I forgive you, and you can just move on because, that person is sorry, and you move on with your lives, and you're able to forget that person, move on, keep them in your life, and they've made the appropriate changes because they truly are sorry. Because changed response is actually what a true apology is. The words "I'm sorry" don't really mean anything. The words "I'm sorry" are just words. Of course, they're important, but it's really more about the changed behavior. And if you're going to keep somebody in your life, then they need to be sorry for the actions that they did that hurt you. And they need to show you that, I'm truly sorry, I'm going to change that because I know that it hurt you. But forgiveness, in another sense, there's kind of two levels of forgiveness. When somebody hurts you and really has some kind of an impact on your life that has changed the way that you see life, that you handle life, that has affected the way that you respond to other situations in life, that has that kind of profound response and effect on your life. Sometimes people don't realize, sometimes they don't really care. Honestly, that's the harsh truth, and that's the really sad, harsh truth about it. And sometimes those people, you might need to actually cut them out of your life. It can be a family member, it can be a relationship, it can be a parent, it can be a child sometimes, especially a grown child, who just will not see their ways and how much they are affecting you, and they refuse to admit their faults. And sometimes that you just need to move on with your life and forgive them, not saying that what they did to you is right, not saying that you accept their behavior towards you, but saying that I will not hold this resentment in my heart for what you did to me. I'm going to heal myself. I'm going to move past this, and I'm not going to hold this responsibility over you anymore. It is now my responsibility to heal what you did to me. I'm not going to say, you need to correct this in my life, or expect them to say I'm sorry, or expect them to change their ways. Sometimes you just need to break the ties and let them go, let the situation go. Do your best to heal that situation. Do your best to work your way through it. Deal with any psychological tools that you can in your toolkit. See a therapist if you need to. Work through self-healing tools. Whatever you need to do. Affirmations. Do some research. You know, if there's any kind of personality disorder of that person, try and do the research that you can. Talk to other people who have dealt with those kind of situations that you've been in with that person. How did they get through it? And let that person go. Let that situation go, and say, I cannot hold on to the resentment, because the resentment is hurting me at this point more than this person is going to hurt me. And I won't allow you to be a part of my future. I won't allow you to hurt me anymore. But this is not this person's responsibility anymore. I can't make them try and correct this. This is my responsibility now to correct it. And I'm going to, what I like to call, I have a word for it that helped me make sense of it, because for the longest time I didn't understand the word forgiveness. I didn't understand. I thought, you know, what a lot of people thought for a long time, that forgiving means, yeah, I forgive you, let's move on, let's go on with our lives, yeah, it's okay what you did to me. But a word that helped me, that I came up with this word, is soulibration. Soul, S-O-U-L, combined with the word liberation. And it's like you're celebrating, if you say the word together, soulibration, like you're celebrating your soul liberation, because you're liberating your soul. You're letting go of that anger, that resentment towards that person. And that's why it takes a hero to remember what they did to you, so that you can heal it. You can work through it, but then you can also forget it. You can also let go of it. You can also let that person go, be at peace with yourself, and move on with everything. And that's a very, very, very hard task. It's very hard. And that's why a lot of people don't do the hard work that it takes to get through these kinds of situations. It's very, very difficult. It's hard to forget things because your brain a lot of times wants to remember it. If your natural coping mechanism is not repression, is not disassociation, and everybody has different coping mechanisms that are just kind of like inbred to them or just based on whatever your life narrative is. If that is not one of your go-to coping mechanisms from when you were younger, then it is really hard to forget. That might actually be hard for you because you have this constant tape in your mind that wants to replay that situation over and over and over and over again. And what could I have done differently? And what could I have changed if I would have done something different? Or what would I have said in that moment to that person that maybe could have changed my own reaction? And maybe I could have, let go of things, or maybe I could have said something different or taken a more assertive standpoint towards that person, and maybe I could feel better about how I handled things and I would feel freer now. But maybe that person is already out of your life and you can't go back and change that now. So if forgetting is really hard for you, that's why that part is hard. But then if you're on the opposite spectrum, if that is your go-to and you're repressing and you're not even realizing, why am I so stuck? Why am I just stuck in this constant cycle, this constant loop of, I feel like I have these relationship issues with, not necessarily not always a romantic relationship, but just with friends, with family, whatever, what have you, that, I just keep running into these same kind of issues, like we get into disagreements, we get into conflicts, and we bash heads, and I don't understand why do I keep getting into these situations? Well, most likely you're repressing something from your past. You've disassociated with something, and there's a reason that if you're going to keep being hit with lessons in life until you get that lesson, until you work your way through it, and until you remember what it is that you've repressed, that you've disassociated from. It's going to keep coming up in different ways, and it's never going to be the same exact situation, because usually situations don't replicate themselves exactly the same way. But you need to be able to make those connections. You need to be able to figure out, this is related to this, is related to this, is related to this. And the reason that they're related, it might be totally different people over time. It might be totally different situations. But what is the key through line? What is the common thread? It's my response. It's my reaction. It's the way that I'm reacting that's causing the same reaction in all these totally different people. They're totally different over time, and they're totally different situations, but they're reacting to me because I'm reacting to them a certain way, and I'm having the same response. So you need to be able to make those ties and figure it out, and then figure out where like point zero is. Where is the 0 point? Where is that initial trauma, that initial situation that caused it? And that's where you need to start unpacking things. That's where you need to start figuring out, this was my trigger point, and it's just been a complete domino effect ever since then. And that's what you need to really work on healing. And until you go back to the roots, until you start digging all the way back to your past, you're not going to be able to heal your present and your future until you go backwards. And it takes a hero to do all that. It is such hard work. And a lot of people don't want to take the time, because it's basically putting yourself through torture. It's putting yourself through a lot of pain. But your life is going to never get much better. Maybe it'll get a little better, but it's never going to get really where you want it to be. You're never going to have that true inner peace. You're not going to feel that, you're not going to have those relationships that you truly want to have. You're not going to have the ability to resolve conflicts the way that you see other people able to do. You're going to keep having the same cycles, that same, carousel. And if you ever want to get out of that, you have to find that hero inside yourself. Like the one song says, there's a hero if you look inside your heart. You don't have to be afraid of what you are. You gotta find it in yourself. You have to put in the hard work. Go through that dark night of the soul. Face it. Deal with it for however long it takes. It might take several years. But you might have to wind up going through it anyway in some manner or form. So really dig in. Do the hard work. Because I promise, as someone who has been through it for many years, I promise it is so worth it on the other side. 100% it is so worth it on the other side. And if you have watched my first several episodes of these quotes of wisdom, that was when I was actually on the other side of this. I don't know if you can see it in my face, my eyes. I know I'm several years older. Those were 4 years ago. But I don't know if you can tell it in my demeanor. I'm a much happier person. I'm in a completely different place in my life because I was in the middle of the hard work when I started these quotes of wisdom. I had a totally different outlook on life. And I can promise you on the other side, I will always have work to do. Everybody always has work to do. They always have growth. But I went through the truly hard work. And I'm at the light at the end of the tunnel. I found it. And it is so much better and it is so worth it. I went through some hard times for a long time, but it is truly worth it. And I'm here for you. If you want to contact me, I am here to help you through it because I've been through it. So trust me, it is worth it to remember and to forget. Peace out.